There we go. All right. The recording is on. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for taking the time out to be here this evening. It truly speaks volumes about your commitment to scouting here in New Hampshire, and more importantly, to our units and our mission. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. So before we get into the content of the meeting, just some housekeeping and process notes. I have about a little less than 30 minutes of baseline content and information to share with you to set the stage. And then we'll open it up to questions and comments. Some questions we'll be able to answer right off the bat. We'll be able to say, yes, this is what we're doing, or this is the direction we're taking. Other questions we may need to take back and consider a real answer for. So don't be surprised if we don't have an answer for everything. To make this work, as I go through the briefing, use the Q&A feature within Zoom. Can everybody find the Q&A button on their Zoom screen? Okay. Elena, I see you shaking your head no. I believe if you go to the lower right-hand corner, you'll see the More button. It'll have three little dots in a circle. Click in there, you'll see the Q&A. All right. And we'll be using that. So go ahead and use the Q&A feature. When we get to the Q&A segment of this session, Brian Savini will read the questions that you put in there. But as you write those questions, please include your name, unit type, and number or your district and your role, just so we know who you are. The reason we're looking for that is if we can't answer your question here, we don't have an answer for you, or it's going to take a little research or some development within some of our groups. We want to be able to get back to you and say, hey, here's the answer to the question you asked on August 6th, and just to close that loop. So the more information you give us about who you are, the better off we're going to be in terms of communicating the results back to you. And just to be clear, tonight's not just an information session, it's a bit of a conversation. And it's going to be a turning point and an opportunity for us to chart a better path, a future together. So the baseline here is on July 30th, our executive board voted to approve a resolution that empowers us to rethink how we deliver scouting support across New Hampshire. One of the things that we don't want to do, because we've done things like this before, we don't want this to be a pure top-down change. We don't want to have an edict come out and say, this is what we're doing. It's about designing a system that works better and best for us, because it'll be built by those like you who live with unit service every day. So your input is going to be valuable. Your comments, your thoughts, your concerns, your challenges are all going to be part of what drives this. So we make sure that we have a sustainable system, not only for the next year or so, but well into our future. So let's get to it. Let's get into the details. So again, last Wednesday, the e-board approved a resolution to establish this task force, the Service Delivery Task Force. And contrary to what I've heard from some folks and what some may think, we do not have a definite plan. We aren't coming here with a finished solution. We have some ideas and concepts, to be fair. We've done our research. We've looked out about the world. But we're here to walk you through what that resolution means to us and to you, and the information that we have so that you understand why we're asking for your help. So the case for change. Well, this is not a new conversation. It's been floating around for about 15 years about reorganizing the council. And many of you are aware we have made several adjustments over time to optimize our limited resources. We've shut down a couple of districts, Great Northern for one, Nutfield for two, and distribute those units back to the surrounding districts to optimize our field staff as well as our other financial resources. About 8 years ago, we moved unit leader training out of district operations into the Commissioner Corps. And more recently, we began a process to consolidate district events and activities through the organization formerly known as DAC. And now it's Tom, it has a new name. You'll be able to share that in a few minutes. However, these tweaks, while appropriate at the time, essentially just push the base problems down the road. We're just kicking the can. So let's take a moment and get real about why we are here right now. The district model we've been using was built to support a council that had well over 600 units and well over 15,000 scouts. I think our high water mark was roughly 17,000 scouts. It was powered by a vast number of volunteers and a robust professional staff. I think our high water mark for professional staff was somewhere between 25 and 30. That structure made sense then, but that was then. Today, the landscape is very different. We're serving somewhere in the middle, 225, 230 units and somewhere around 35 to 3,700 scouts. As you are all well aware, our volunteer pool is smaller. Key roles such as district chair, commissioners, advancement membership chairs, unit commissioners, and program volunteers are simply going unfulfilled. Additionally, our professional team, while lean, is working very hard. Regardless, we're duplicating the efforts across these districts, and that results in some inefficiencies and time-consuming tasks. We know this is because we've heard it from you. It's tough to know who to call, how to get help, or where to plug in. And clearly, tickets are not always the answer. In addition to the challenges we have posed there, membership is creeping up on us. We have to get more kids into the program if we're going to be surviving. So we did some research. A group of us got together a few months back and started looking out at the world and saying, are we alone? And the truth of the matter is we are not alone. There are councils all across the country who are experiencing the same challenges. And that's the good news. We have some starting points. We have some concepts to play with. I'm not going to take you through all of the councils we looked at, but I'd like to share that one of the key elements, actually, I will say the key element that brings all these different councils together is that when they chose to reorganize their council, it was directly targeted towards unit service. There was no other motivations. How do we help our scout leaders where they are and when they need it the most? So the task force, who are we and what are we doing? Well, with that context of the change in our membership structure, the change number of units over time, the need to address some of these concerns, the executive board has empowered this task force comprising entirely of seasoned volunteers and supported by our staff to conduct research, engage with you folks, and to together design a better system. Our core team of the task force, on our core team, we have former district chairs, former district commissioners, a council president, a couple former district VP of district operations, a couple former area commissioners, and key program leaders are all at the table. And not surprisingly, all of us on this task force have been unit leaders. We've been Cub Masters, Scout Masters, adventuring advisors. And so we bring that real world experience to the work. Our charge is clear. It's to engage with our unit leaders, our district volunteers, to build that sustainable, scalable, unit-focused service model for Scouting America, New Hampshire. One that works for when we are and where we're going. We're exploring everything from commissioner alignment and staff support to how we manage events, training, and advancement. So that's our charge. And to be clear, this is not just a planning exercise. We have real milestones and deadlines, and they are aggressive. We're working towards presenting a recommended course of action to the executive board by our September meeting for approval, along with a proposal for a launch, if we're successful in September, for January 1st. Again, it's aggressive. We understand that. And we are ready to be flexible, but we are laser focused on delivering what we should be doing as quickly as possible. And what all that means is that we need to hear from you. We need your input, your participation, your brain power and experience now, not 6 months from now. We need it now. So we have broken our task force into several subcommittees. Each group will need experienced volunteers and staff advisors tasked with developing recommendations that are both forward-thinking and rooted in the realities of scouting in New Hampshire. We are grateful for the insight and engagement of our scouting community, and we look forward to sharing additional updates in the coming weeks as these working groups get going. So those working groups are very specific. We have a working group for administration that's focused on governance, communication, and internal operations. Jay Gary, our CEO, will chair that subcommittee. The advancement subcommittee focused on support systems for youth advancement. Advancement. Let me get to advancement. Focus on support systems for youth advancement and adult recognition will be led by our advancement chairman, Jeff Town. Our membership group, which is focused on recruitment, retention, and onboarding youth and adults, will be led by our VP of membership, Brian Savini. Commissioners and unit service focused on redesigning the actual unit service element of the structure, the big rock here, will be led by our Council Commissioner, Rick Smith. Program will be focused on council level program offerings for all segments of our population, will be led by Tom Welton. What this really means for you. It means that your voice is needed. I guess I'm gonna stop reading my script. I'm gonna look right at you guys. What we need of you right now is your commitment to help us lead this change. We're looking for volunteers to step up and be part of our subcommittees to not only give us information, but also challenge us on the things that we are thinking about, to push us a little bit to make sure that whatever we build together and we make sure that it works. So what I ask of you is to join the subcommittee, one of those ones I mentioned before, Unit Service Membership Program Advancement. Subcommittees will do all the dirty work, all the critical work to make sure that we have this program going. I want you to leverage your experience, whether you're a district chair, a unit leader, a committee member, den leader, doesn't matter. Your experience is vital. You understand what works and what's broken and how we currently support our units. And that's what we really need to know. That's what we really need to hear. We ask also that you engage in conversations and help us gather input. Talk with other leaders in your network. Use the Facebook form, the feedback form, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. And share the real stories and concerns, ideas that you have, so it would drive us towards meaningful solutions. And also, I ask that you think about this and think about it hard and become a connector or an ambassador for this change. It's going to happen. We just need to make sure it happens the right way. And you're helping us lead the charge to identify others who might also participate with us is what we need of you. Use those spheres of influence that you have. So this type of structure that we're looking at, this type of committee, subcommittee, and working group structure we're looking at really does allow for significant cross-functional insight into the issues that units are facing. So if we get our unit leaders, our district leaders, council volunteers all sitting together, how can we deliver better service to our units? Because we know that if our units are served correctly, leaders are going to get the support they need, and supported leaders will stay longer. Supported leaders will develop better unit program. And if we have better unit program, scouts will stay in the program longer and be a more attractive option for the families looking for something for their children. So we know that everything starts at the unit. So the other thing about this structure, it allows that efficient collaboration I was mentioning, but also provides a clear reporting lines back up to the task force. Because our job at the end of the day is to take all the information that comes from these subcommittees and roll it into one cohesive plan to make sure that membership is not doing something contrary to what service is doing, or advancement is not doing something contrary to commissioners as well, that everything works hand in glove. So we're the clearinghouse for that. We don't have a veto. We have a solution job. That's what we're looking for. So with that, I went through my content a little bit faster than I anticipated, which is good. It's about 20 minutes of content. What I'd like to do is open this up to your questions and give you some time to ask us some things. Brian, do we have any questions in the Q&A area?
We have a couple, one of which I was just in the process of answering, but we do have one from Hannah, and she is asking, is it possible to keep the current districts, but change how they are structured or run?
I'm gonna take that one because that comes to the heart of the issue here. So each district is actually, in our current structure, is actually built to operate sort of like a mini council. So it needs to have a chair, it needs to have all the program areas. They have the responsibilities of delivering that service in program, membership, finance, and unit service. The real issue here, we're kind of missing the boat if we're focusing on just consolidation of districts or consolidation of districts, is because we just don't have the bandwidth to support all those different things. We don't have the volunteers in all cases to do that. If we're going to create larger geographical areas, we have more challenges in getting to the units to actually deliver the service. So it's not simply a matter of reducing the number from 7 to 4. We'll still have the duplication of effort. We'll also have the segregation of our talent pool over a wider area. So the concept is centralize what needs to be centralized, what can be centralized, and make local what must be local, which is the relationships that our commissioners would form with the units.
Thank you, Patrick. At this time, we have no other questions in the queue. I take that back. One just came in. So it says, this is from Jim Butts, and it says, one of the functions of the districts is to put on large-scale events. Any thoughts as to how those will be run?
I'm going to toss that one to our VP of program, Tom Welton.
So right now we're in a strange situation where we have 7 districts, but most of the districts do not have an operational or highly functioning program team. So this fall, we found ourselves with only one council camporee that was proposed. And I think that's a good example of the challenge that we face here. It's not a matter that who's going to put on district level stuff. We're already at the point where a lot of our districts are not able to put together a strong enough team to actually put on an event. So by collaborating across districts, what our current districts are, and consolidating to a centralized committee, we're going to be actually able to serve our youth across the state more effectively by sharing the load and making our events work better and hopefully more of them.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Next question, Patrick, is from George Adamakis. If we do away with districts, what are we going to replace them with? I've heard that we may develop service areas. If so, could you explain how those will operate?
I'm going to toss that one to our council commissioner, Rick.
Sure. Thanks, Patrick. So George, the two parts to this, right? One was, excuse me, as Patrick had explained, we centralize the functions that make sense to centralize, and those functions will have responsibility for delivering their function across the entire state, making better use of the resources that we do have. From a commissioner service in particular, we're looking at going to what I guess we would describe as hyper localized. We're still working out the details with the commissioners of exactly how this would be, but we would have a smaller group of units, maybe something in the 10 to 12 units per group that would be headed up by an assistant council commissioner with unit commissioners to help out to provide specific subject matter expertise to assist units that are looking for help. So it's still young. We're still working on developing the concept out, but that is what we're doing. And the belief being with smaller groups, we can get more people to help, and the help is going to be closer to the units. We'll be able to provide better support to those units.
Great. Thank you, Rick. Next question is from Adam Hanks. Adam says, let's get back to some basics. Biggest issues with leadership recruitment in my experience. And then he has 3 questions here. So I'll ask the 3 questions, and then Patrick, maybe you can determine who those should go to. First question is, what is meant by unit service? Second question, what is wrong, in parentheses, other than staffing with the current districts? And then third question is, what is the proposed replacement structure?
I'm going to toss question 1 to Rick, but I'm going to answer questions 2 and 3 first because they're fairly quick. So what's wrong with, other than staffing, the current structure? Staffing is a big element here. We have, in one district, I have a district chair who's been serving 5 going on 6 years with no clear replacement behind him. And he's burning out. The bench is not very deep for high-level council or district volunteers. We have some districts that are operating fairly well. Massabesic, who sadly they have an Eagle board tonight, couldn't make this call. Not everybody there, but they have recently gone through a renaissance where they are actually a fairly well-staffed district. That's more of an anomaly than a normal outcome. We have districts that are struggling. And I think if you look at your districts, you can see where somebody's wearing 5, 6, 7 hats. And people may say, well, we've done that forever. Yeah, you have, but that's not right. So district structure itself, getting the volunteers into those right seats is part of the challenge. The other thing that's currently wrong with our structure is that we have inconsistent service deliveries. We just can't get quality in all cases because the person running the program or running the event, again, is wearing too many hats. So we're expecting a lot from them. The other part is that we don't have the bench in our office to support the districts as they need to be supported. And so that needs to be addressed in a different delivery model. What is it, proposed replacement structure? That is what Rick's committee, what Tom's committee, what Brian's committee, what Jeff's committee is tasked to figure out. And that's why we're talking with you, is that here are the problems that we have, here are the concerns that we have, and here are the teams that are tasked with coming up with the right answer for us. So we don't have a proposal. We didn't come to the table with a proposal. We came to the table with some ideas that Rick will talk about here in a moment. And we came to the table with the necessary energy and urgency to make some change. Rick, toss to you for question 1. What is meant by unit service?
Yep, it's a pretty broad term. So besides what you get from the advancement committee, right? Merit badge workshops and information on merit advancement changes, and the program team who offers different activities for scouts to participate in that you just have to show up to, et cetera, help with membership, right? Tactics and air cover for recruiting. When we talk about unit service, we also mean what is delivered by the commissioner corps, and that is quite broadly is what is it that you need from us to give you the information, the resources, the knowledge, the skill, the training necessary to put on a great unit program and serve the scouts and families in your community. So whether it's your unit commissioner being our goal, the single best resource that you turn to when you need something, or perhaps attending a roundtable where you have an opportunity to network with other leaders that have the exact same position as you in other places around the state, a forum where you can get information shared, start conversations online, and things like streamlined communication. So giving you what you need as concisely as possible, without duplication on a timely basis, so that you have the information that you need. So all of that is unit service. And if there are things you are looking for that we can provide that we haven't talked about, shoot me an email or put some ideas here. We would love to know from you what is most important to support you. And that's what we want to focus on when we say unit service.
Can
Thank
I
you,
go
Rick.
back a little bit on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
And so I'm not a commissioner, and I've never served as a commissioner, but I worked in district operations for 8 years, and I was a unit leader for quite some time, as well as a district chair. So I understand what I perceive to be unit service. And I think it'd be useful to say, let's put a scenario in place. So we have a Cub Scout pack. We have a fairly new Cub leader, fairly new committee chair, and we're coming up to a recruitment event. Well, we've seen this scenario play out a number of times where they're just not ready to recruit. They don't know how to recruit. They're not well staged to recruit. Their program is a little weak, and so not very attractive in the marketplace. So unit service would be the commissioners identifying a new unit leader, new committee chair, assessing their program, assessing their readiness to open a recruitment campaign to recruit new scouts in August. At that point in time, the connection would be made between Rick's team, a commissioner, and possibly Brian's team in membership. And they work together to ensure that the unit leaders have the right skill set, have framed their program correctly, and are actually ready in all aspects to launch a successful membership campaign for the fall. That is direct unit service. We have a unit leader. Another scenario would be a unit leader is struggling with their chartered org or struggling in communications with their committee. How can we help them resolve that? What resources they need from us, commissioners, or us, the council, to remedy that situation. So think about all those day in, day out operational components that unit leaders find themselves with, and how can we assist with that? And making sure that we have the people on the ground with the relationships, with the skill set to be predictive, see where the problems are, get the solutions in place before the problems become too big. So, Rick, is that too high an order, or too high a task? Or is that exactly what we're shooting for?
That is what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you both. Rick, we're going to stay with you. So if you want to stay unmuted here, a lot of these questions are headed your way. Elaine Yacomo is asking, how are the ACCs for each area going to be chosen?
Good question. So all of the commissioner jobs, we will be writing Scouting America, New Hampshire specific job descriptions, for lack of a better word. So what is it that we expect the responsibilities of that person to be? What are the metrics that we will use to judge success? And what is the ideal background that we are looking for these people? And we are encouraging anyone who is interested in participating in this, once we have this information out, to let us know. Based on some of the council benchmarks we did, there may be some cases where we have more than one candidate, which is fantastic. There may also be times when it takes us longer than we would like to find somebody that is well qualified to step up for that. So it will be something that we look at very carefully, and we want honest self-assessment from people when we say here is the job description and the metrics for success. What I will say is, a commissioner appointment is a 1-year appointment for any commissioner in scouting. So, hopefully we will be asking, and there will be interest for people to stick around for more than just 1 year. But this is something that you'll see on an ongoing basis to make sure we're staffing this with the best people that we can. So
great. Thank you, Rick. And don't go anywhere. Next one, we actually have 3 people who have asked similar questions. So I'm going to summarize those together. So John Scheckler, Hannah Dufo, and Guy Eaton, they're all curious as to what is Roundtable going to look like and how is that going to operate in this new structure?
Okay. So we have a team that is looking at that exact question. Their answer is due back by the board meeting in September. I will tell you that what we understand the value of Roundtable. We are looking at or evaluating combinations of either hybrid or virtual. We recognize that there is a need for in-person gatherings as well, and our roundtable team is looking at putting a plan together that includes all of those facets. So we don't have the plan specifics, but we do absolutely have the goals, which is to provide you the latest information, the latest training that's not official BSA training, but things that are of interest to your very specific position, and providing you the opportunity for networking and for gathering. So all those are parts of the goals, and we'll share with that as soon as we have more to share.
Great. Thank you, Rick. Next question, I'm gonna toss over to Craig, our council president. So Craig, the question comes from Michael Woods, and Michael is asking, how do we propose not overburdening volunteers to the point of burnout from active districts when we ask them to now serve a larger geographical area and additional units? How do we make sure that this change doesn't negatively impact those units in districts with an active volunteer group today?
Great question. And I guess our goal with this is to not overburden the volunteers, but actually to hopefully lighten the burden to some degree for district volunteers. We had a district leader meeting before the board meeting, and we had district leadership where they had 2 people, 3 people that were involved in the district. And off of that process, we could see the creative juices starting to flow of how can we do things differently. I know a lot of districts are running very lean and they have committees of one if they have a committee of one. A lot of the districts struggle to get those activities and the events off. And so I guess depending on what your function is going to be, as a district level type of volunteer, it may be that you are serving on a council-wide program related committee. And the objective with that will be to deliver program in locations across the state. The reality right now is with 7 districts, there might be 1 or 2 camporees, as Patrick had mentioned at the beginning. The other 6 districts that didn't have an event, it could be that they didn't plan it. It could be that they didn't have enough resources. It could be that the one leader was there and already overburdened and didn't provide a program because there just resources were not available. And we want people across the state on all of these committees. It may be, I guess we'll call it centralized because it's a council level thing, but we want local representation from all corners of the state, from Keene to Portsmouth, Pittsburgh to Salem, everybody in between. And then I guess if you were going to be working as a commissioner, the geographic area will probably be smaller. So instead of having 7 districts, it might be 12, 15 territory zone service areas. The term itself has not yet been defined, but as Rick had mentioned, it would be a smaller geographic area with a more focused effort. So instead of districts having a small commissioner team that's trying to fight fires with a small team of folks, it would be a small team of folks working directly with a group of units.
Great. Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Patrick.
Just some context on this. What Rick and Craig are talking about in terms of smaller service areas is one model that we're looking at. One concept we're hanging on because we see that in a couple other councils that are doing it. However, how that actually plays out, what that really looks like, how that service is delivered is really up to Rick and his committee and subcommittees to define. And that's again where we need your input, is to take this concept and put some structure to it so we can actually deliver a process model to the council. So some of the things that we're talking about, maybe it could be this, maybe it could be that. Well, those are conversations we're having and where we need your input. So just keep that in mind when we're saying things that sound specific, like we have a plan in place. We certainly have had conversations. We've certainly had the ideas and the concepts bantered about, but we have nothing on paper that says this is what we're going to do because we don't have your input yet.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Craig. So the next question here is actually going to be a combination of 2. And it's about subcommittees and timing. So these come from Ron Walters and David Hutchinson. And so Ron first asks, please outline how the subcommittees will meet and operate to deliver results given the short time frame and broad goals. What is the time commitment? Do these working groups end after September? What is the sign-up process for volunteering for those who might like to help? And then to add with that, what David Hutchinson is asking is, I heard something about an aggressive timeline. What is the timeline and why are we choosing an aggressive one? Are we trading a thoughtful transition for speed. So Patrick, questions really around subcommittees and formation, and then the time at which we have outlined.
Sure. Those squarely in my my little bucket here. So the first one was subcommittees. Each of the subcommittees will set their own agenda and schedule. So far, I've heard from Rick had his first meeting earlier this week, and Brian has shared that he's looking to meet 2 to 3 times a week. I'm assuming virtually to keep things moving
Sorry,
along.
Patrick, two to three times a month.
I like the 2 to 3 times a week better to get things done. Come on, let's go. I'll do it. I don't mean to be a task driver, but yeah.
I understand.
Yep. So 2 or 3 times a month to not only keep things moving, but also to give some space so that work can be done. So it's going to take a bit of a commitment to get things going. Our intention for the September 24th board meeting is to have a high-level project plan, to have the key concepts identified, worked out, and agreed upon, so that we can say, hey, this is what service is going to look like. This is what advancement is going to look like. This is what membership is going to look like. And the big picture view. These task force subcommittees will not disband on September 25th. That is not going to happen, because while we have a high-level project plan and high-level goals defined, we have to make sure that when we hit January 1st, that we have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. If we're going to do something special with rearranging the Eagle boards, for example, we simply cannot get that wrong. That has to be right immediately out of the gate. So we have to have that squared away. We have a little flexibility with program because of the schedule that Tom and his team has built out already. But we do have some other things that program deals with and activities and such that may need a little work. So we have some flexibility there. Advancement, membership, unit service, we have to have right. The aggressiveness of the goal is that we've been talking about this on and off for a number of years. And I know if we set a goal for let's get this done by July 1, we wouldn't start until March, and we'd be in the same spot we're in right now. It's the way our schedules work, the way we operate in Scouts. Throwing some sense of urgency on this puts a responsibility that we actually sit down, focus, and get this thing done. Having said that, there's a couple pivot points that I have in my plan here. If we're not ready to present to the board on the 24th, we're going to have to eat that. We're going to have to eat that and say, we're not ready. We're not ready to present this. And we're going to have to take a step back and adjust our schedule. I've been pushing very hard within our task force to be ready for the 24th. But I'm also a rather reasonable and rational individual. And if we're not, we're not. I'm not going to bring garbage in front of the board. It's not going to happen. Even if we do that, when we hit January 1, if we don't have our I's dotted, T's crossed, we're not going to pull the trigger on the go live. We may institute a phased approach, saying what has to happen on January 1. Eagle boards, for example, we don't have a chance to mess that up. So maybe that has to go first and we get that done. But we'll take a look at what has to be there for January 1, what has to be there for April 1, what has to be there for July 1. We're going to have a year of firsts because scouting is cyclical. So as we go ahead and develop and deploy our project, we can do this phased approach to make sure that we get everything done correctly. So we have again, a couple milestones and pivot points that we have decisions to make whether or not we're going to step forward. We will not, and I'm saying this without the consent of my fellow task force members. So I'm making a Patrick statement here, not a task force statement. I will not advocate or vote for stepping forward unless we are ready. Simple as that. And if I get outvoted, I get outvoted. But the job here is let's get this right. So we are going to do this thoughtfully and fast. And I know some people think that may be a tough challenge, but that's our goal.
Thank you, Patrick.
I think I hit all the points on both those questions.
I think you did, and you actually hit on one that came in while you were speaking, and it was why not consider a phased in approach versus an all in on January 1st. And that came in from John Arico, but I believe you answered that as well.
Yep. I did not answer one question in that suite of questions you gave me, and that's how can somebody help? How can somebody sign up to help?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. I wrote that one down because I like that one. I'll never say no to a volunteer, right? So, how you can get involved and help. On our website, we have a number of resources under the New Hampshire nhscouting.org/service delivery page. You will see a synopsis of the project, one paragraph synopsis. You will see FAQs that we put up there for you to consider. You will see some information about tonight's meeting. And then below that, you'll see a feedback form. In that feedback form, you'll have your basic demographic information. And then there's going to be a note area. In that note area, if you would like to serve on one of the subcommittees, simply state it there. And say, I would like to serve on the advancement subcommittee. I'd like to serve on the unit service subcommittee, whichever one you'd like to serve on, state it there. We are tracking those feedback elements almost in real time. As you put it into jot form, it gets dropped into our Slack channel as well as to a Google Doc that we have. We are tracking everything there for it. Derek just put up the in the chat for the meeting, put up our website for the service delivery. So go into that feedback form and go ahead and say, I like to serve on this committee. You can also put in feedback if you think the calendar is too aggressive, put that there. But if you're going to volunteer, let's put it there. We'll get you. The correct subcommittee chair will get in contact with you.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. Next question comes in from Deb Damboyce. Deb is asking, how do you intend to solicit feedback from units? Will commissioners visit units more often to observe, or will you rely on emails, phone calls from units?
I think that goes to Rick.
So assuming this is talking about unit support and not for this task force, Patrick, I think you answered this for the task force. I read the question one of two ways, right? If it is unit service, we are hoping to increase the number of face-to-face visits that our commissioners have with the units, as well as increase the number of emails and phone calls. So the idea is, in order for us to be providing the best service and being the best resource, we need to know what's on your mind. What are your questions? Where do you need help? What do you think is going great? Maybe that you'd like to share that we could send along to some other units that could benefit from that. So the idea with the one of the ideas behind the smaller service, hyperlocal service or service areas, is that we have fewer units per team that is looking at supporting those, so it's actually easier to provide more frequent both face-to-face and electronic or telephone communication. So absolutely that it's both. There's also, our desire is to have this online forum where unit leaders can talk with other unit leaders, and that certainly can be used for providing feedback and getting discussions going amongst others as well. So
great. Thank you, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question. It's a little lengthy, but Tom, I believe this one will go to you. A couple years ago, let me back up. This came in from Paul Parker. A couple of years ago, the Arrowhead District Activities Chair stepped down because council was going to run camporees and Klondikes. However, only one such event occurred in that time. What is being done to ensure events occur under this new direction? If there were more, they were not widely communicated. Events keep scouts engaged, and without them, we risk losing them. Additionally, when there are scheduling conflicts with our district events, we could attend events for other districts.
So that's an important question, and right off the bat, it's it's a little disappointing because clearly things were not communicated well, Paul. There have been camporees and Klondikes and events over the past few years. I'm not exactly sure how far back into the past this particular person you're thinking of stepped down from their role. At this time, as we currently are structured, program evolves from two different ways. Council level committees such as the climbing committee or the aquatics committee or the high adventure committee or the shooting sports committee will propose events that get run usually at a council facility such as Camp Carpenter or GSR, et cetera. That's one way. The other way is the council districts, whether it's Abenaki, Historic, Massabesic, Wanalancet, whatever. They also propose activities that they would put together and host on their own. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, the challenge has become that because we're losing volunteers at the district level, we're really not able to do a lot of those districts their scout service, because we simply don't have functional program committees across all of our districts. So the key element there is by collaborating, that's how we're going to make sure things are going to work. So my task is leading the committee to help recruit as many of those program folks who love doing program to come and participate in our council activities committee. We currently have a council activities committee that's chaired by Mike Mary, and we're going to be inviting all the folks who currently participate in the program at the district level to participate. There will be a gaping hole in the calendar if we don't have these things, and it will be very obvious. So I very much doubt we're not going to have camporees and Klondikes and things like that going forward. I actually think that we'll have a better opportunity for scouts across the council to participate. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Tom. Next question, Patrick, probably best for you, but I'll let you decide that. This comes from John Scheckler. There is a perception that there is more of a focus on southern New Hampshire, presumably due to the higher population. What is the current ideas to address more rural areas, especially when it comes to the North Country, which has been struggling for a while now?
That's a fair question. And I would say that again, that goes back to our commissioner crew to actually address that particular comment. But the reality is we know that the density is weighted in New Hampshire to the southern area. We were talking with Charlene. Charlene, are you on the call? Just wave. Yeah, there she is. I see her. And Charlene is a strong, if I misstate this, give me a hairy eyeball. She's a strong proponent of this because of the value of getting more resources, potentially more resources to her territory. She's a one-person shop up there, primarily with Kevin Anderson doing a lot of work as well. But they serve a lot, but they don't have a lot of volunteers to lean on. So one of the things that, Rick, if I'm misspeaking here, or you haven't covered this ground yet, and I'm putting something on your plate, push back. Well, ideally, the relationships we have as commissioners with units are fairly local. I mean, that's a great outcome because I can meet that person face to face, or I can go visit their unit meeting frequently. But one of the things about creating a centralized operation is that if we don't have a resource that lives in Charlene's neighborhood, I know Charlene, maybe I can work with Charlene. Charlene and I know each other through Wood Badge. Maybe I'm her connection because we have that relationship. So really, at the end of the day, it's about connecting people to solve the problems. And right now, with our district structures and our boundaries and barriers that we put up, some of them are real, some of them are artificial. We don't have as many resources to throw at other problems. So I'm looking at this as a potential for growing our available resources for our underserved areas. Rick, I may have stepped into your territory, and I may be putting ideas out there that haven't been discussed yet.
Well, in response to that, I'm going to step back on yours. So it's only fair.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
And it gets to the point that, when we have a committee, and I'm not talking just commissioners, right? I'm talking membership, I'm talking program advancement, right? they will, as part of this, have responsibility for the whole state. Not to say, hey, we're gonna serve a couple people. No. The idea is this is gonna provide uniform, high quality support, commissioner and otherwise, throughout the state. And I think that becomes possible, especially in these other areas where a practice can be developed and rolled out much more efficiently than 7 practices can be developed and rolled out to do the same thing. So don't underestimate, Patrick, to step into your area, don't underestimate the economies of scale that this approach brings. So
I like that term.
I like that as well.
Yeah.
And that really, I think between both of your answers, Patrick and Rick, you've really kind of touched on the next question, which comes from Adam Hanks. If the issues are rooted in lack of resources at the district level, why do we expect to be able to have more of them when it is council run? If the issue is burnout and overburden, then why rush this? It feels like this is being shoved at us without developing a future plan or a transition plan.
Rick, you want to take that? Would you like me to? You're on mute, so okay.
I think he's gesturing to you.
I think he is too. So that is not an unreasonable question. And the assumption that we're shoving this at you. No, we're asking you to come in and play with us to figure this out. We know that what we're doing right now is not sustainable. We see the trends of membership. We see the trends of volunteerism. We see the trends of Scouts not transitioning from Cubs to Scout BSA. We see the challenges that are there. And if we continue doing what we're doing right now, we'll be out of business in a handful of years. And that is not an outcome that anyone on this call would like to see. So we know we have to change. We know that our finances dictate certain realities, that we just can't hire our way out of this problem. We don't have the resources for that. So we have to do something structural. And that's where we are. We also know that we cannot do this, to use your term, shove this at you. We as a council have done that on a few things, and we pay for it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's the right answer, but at the cost of alienating the folks that we're trying to serve, whether it be the families, the scouts, the unit leaders, the district leaders. We may get the right outcome, but we don't leave a good taste in their mouths. So we know we need to change. We know that the realities are pushing us. We want to do this quickly. We want to do this correctly. And we want you along with the ride. We need your input. We're making some assumptions in terms of commissioner availability. And these assumptions are based upon the feedback from the councils that we've talked to, their experiences. And what they have shared is that a certain percentage of the district committee folks will transition to commissioners because their mission is much more focused, much more direct, and I should say directly unit and youth serving versus a membership role on a district committee or a finance role in district committee or even a program role in district committee. They want to get back into unit work. So there's a certain percentage of district committee folks who, in the experience of other councils, will make that transition. If we have 25% of our district committee members make that transition, Rick's unit service or unit commissioner squad at least doubles, some maybe even triples to the available commissions we have. Again, I want to emphasize that is an assumption on our part. And we have to vet that assumption, and we have to find a way to recruit, train, and deploy those commissioners in the field and get them from the committees. We're not going to need 7 program committees worth of people to run a program committee. We're not going to need 7 membership committees worth of membership folks to run membership or advancement. So if these folks still have the passion and the desire to serve, we have a role for them.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. That also, I believe, answered another question that came in from Jeff Leader about having enough volunteers. So thank you for that. Next question is from Lynn Giblin. Is there a plan on how communication will be shared by the subcommittees to members council-wide as they work through their tasks to keep everyone involved and perhaps give a chance for feedback to everyone?
Yes. So I do have a communications plan for this project, and that communications plan does have periodic updates posted to not only our site, but also emailed to the council as a update. But I think the key function here is going to be meetings such as this. And later on in this in our conversation, I will announce that on September 17th at 6:30, we'll be having our second town hall meeting. You heard it here first, so that we can continue the conversation about what's going to happen. Excuse me, what's going to happen. We chose the 17th because if in fact we are successful getting our work done at the high level, the council, volunteers, you folks, will hear what we're taking to the board the next week. And if we are not successful, we are not going to take it to the board. You'll get the status update of exactly where we are and what our decision for board action is going to be. So we're looking at getting together in a little over a month from now to update you.
Great.
I hope I finished that question.
Yes. Thank you, Patrick. Next question from Jim Butts, and Jim is asking, how will local recruitment events, local program events be handled with a statewide group?
Brian, I'm going to toss that first part to you.
Absolutely.
The recruitment events being the VP of membership.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jim, what I would say with that is we would look to have events more on a area or town or even a town basis. You could say you could relate it similarly to the library joining night that we worked with last fall. And we would each service area would be able to provide input as to what they feel would work best for their area, whether it be area specific or town specific. But the larger committee that is being formed to support membership on the council level would be available to support any unit or any area or any town that wants to run a recruitment event. We can help you get materials, help you with advertising, and we can do all of that remotely. So I, from the Manchester area, could help support any town or any unit around the state. So I guess, Tom, you want to take the second half of that question?
Sure. So as we currently exist, our districts put on local events from time to time, whether it's, for example, the local fall camporee we had in Historic District in Portsmouth last year. I think that might be what you're targeting there, Jim, in terms of a local event. How that will look for the committee going forward will entirely depend on the ideas that are brought forth to the committee by the volunteers who are there. I think we could all think of a basic default camporee at a council property as sort of the baseline of an event, but it is going to come up to the creativity of the folks who were involved with putting together the events. If somebody should have a great idea of putting on an event that is not at a council property, then that committee would certainly entertain it. It just is going to come down to the creativity. Will there be a local event in your local area every year? Unknown. That's something that we'll have to find out, and that would be entirely dependent on how many volunteers we have at the council level.
Tom, while you're speaking, if you don't mind answering one other question, somebody has asked, what is Tom Welton's role? And I believe Patrick left out your role when he made your introduction earlier.
Sure. My role with the council is I'm vice president of program, a member of the executive board. I'm also on the High Adventure Committee. I'm the chairman of the venturing committee. Um, Kind of getting involved with whatever I can. Been adventuring advisor for almost 10 years. Been on the district committee here in historic for 10 years. Um, just done a whole bunch of different things.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Patrick, question for you, and I'm gonna kind of ad lib this one a little bit to put a little bit more into it. Hannah is asking, will new committees be established? So you've mentioned the committees that will that have been established. Do we have any plans to establish any additional?
So the committees that we have established are not council operating committees, to be clear. These are committees and subcommittees designed specifically to figure out how we're going to deliver service going forward. Once we get through the transition period, once we get through the implementation of whatever model or models we come up with, operational control over the functions will be within the hands of our standing council committees. So as a task force, if we find a need to establish another subcommittee for some reason, we will, but we're not trying to replace the operating committees of the council. So we're looking at the key things that speak directly to unit service and things that our units need to be able to deliver key program elements that support their operations as part of our project.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. So at this point, there are no additional questions in the Q&A. I would ask that if others have any additional questions, we can hang on here for a few more minutes and give everybody an opportunity to type in any last questions that you may have. Otherwise, we can move into our closing in just a couple minutes.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to go ahead and start making that transition. If a couple more questions come in, we can address them before we go.
Sounds good.
But if you do come with questions and we're already shutting down, we have the feedback form on nhscouting.org/service delivery. Fill out that feedback form and we will answer your question, and we will does anybody have a plan for den chief training? That's a question we'll put into the unit service hopper. I don't have an answer for that one today. So that's going to be those things are going to come into our feedback form, and we will delegate them to the correct subcommittee of the task force, and we'll keep moving there. So I really do appreciate the questions that came in. I appreciate the forward thinking of the questions, the concern about maintenance of roles, maintenance of service where service is strong, the bolstering of service where service is not strong. And that really drives to the heart of what we're looking to do, is to equalize that service delivery across the council and to ensure that every scout, every leader, every unit gets what they need to be successful. And it's a big ask. It's a huge task. And what I don't want folks to walk away with is, yeah, we have an aggressive calendar, so we're not taking this seriously. We're taking this very seriously. And again, we've given ourselves permission to pivot if need be. So before we actually close out, I would like to give our key three an opportunity to share some thoughts with the group here. So Rick, since your voice is already warmed up, why don't you go first?
Yes, sir. So I'm really excited about this. I'm excited that all of you took the time to engage in this evening, and for heaven's sakes, please keep the feedback coming. It's all about making commissioner service more focused on the units, more bountiful, more impactful, more effective. So it's it's a priority. We're taking it seriously. We're developing the plans. It's all about helping you as we build stronger relationships with you. So I hope I hope you're looking forward to this as much as I am. And yeah, we'll looking forward to the next 6 weeks as we really get the plans together and get a little bit more specificity. So
Great. Thank you, Rick. Craig. Is Craig still on the call? Okay, that's interesting. Jay, I'll toss to you.
Sure. Thank you, Patrick, and good evening, everybody. I'll just say this, our management team, our field staff team, and our program and support team are really excited about the opportunity to align ourselves to the plan that the volunteers put together. Scouting works when it's volunteer-led, professionally guided. And the nice thing about this process is this is very much so volunteer-led. This isn't a directive by leadership. It's not a staff-driven model. It's not a scout executive-driven model. It is a model that's really built around adding synergy amongst volunteers and putting people together to build efficiencies so that everybody can work together. And I think the key word here is synergy. Building across all models that we have to produce the best possible mission and outcome for our youth is really the outcome I think we want to achieve. I'm excited about the fact that there were 80 plus people on this call. That's synergy. This much interest in delivering high quality program and to reigniting the mission of scouting across the state is mission critical. And I think that's ultimately the goal. Our team is equipped and ready to deliver the services needed. We have 2 member impact specialists, and we have a field director with unit service executives already working on some of those key areas. I heard earlier the comment about the North Country. We have staff that actually went all the way up to Mount Washington Observatory, for example, with mobile base camp just a few weeks ago to promote scouting in the North Country for our youth. And so have trailer will go. And our team is ready to do that. We're ready to strengthen the organization through growth, and we're looking forward to serving our volunteers as effectively as we possibly can. So they have been very visible in the field, and they look forward to doing this once we put the model together. So I commend the volunteer leadership. Thank you all for being here to take interest in the council and making scouting grow as much as it possibly can.
Thank you, Jay. I'll give Craig another shot. Craig, are you still?
I'm here, and I'm actually now off of mute. Somehow I get muted.
Okay.
So I guess the way I like to think of this right now is if we were given the map in New Hampshire to define and for us to structure out how we deliver scouting in our council in the state of New Hampshire today, what would it look like? Would it look like the model that we have today with our existing 7 districts? Would we staff it that way, or would we do something different? I think we would do something different. And that's in part the function of this task force, to work with the folks that we are working with, our units and current local district volunteers. We do realize that we are actually changing the engine while we are driving. And as Patrick mentioned at the beginning, everybody who's on the task force has been in a district role. They have had a unit role. So we are cognizant of it, but we also don't hold ourselves out to be experts. We need units and local district volunteers to help for this. We've recognized that this has been a problem, and as Patrick had mentioned, it's a conversation that's been going for many years. We've made tweaks and adjustments, but we've just kind of fixed and got the car to pass inspection. We haven't really fixed the underlying core problems, and we actually have the core problems have now been seen. We kind of have some imperatives that are coming to us as to that we need to improve our membership situation, improve our finance situation. Our structure is not helping those things. And so we want to come up
with something that will work best for New Hampshire. And the choice is we make changes that we like, that work for us in New Hampshire, or changes may be made for us that we may or may not like. Is everyone going to be happy? Maybe not. The goal is for everyone to be happy. We do need everyone on board. There is a role for everybody who is a volunteer. No one is going to be eliminated, but roles may be repurposed. And really, I guess to get back to that question of if we structured scouting in our council today, what would it look like? That's our goal. That's our objective. And we want input from everybody on that process.
I have to apologize to the group here. We've had everybody on the task force, with the exception of Jeff and Alan, answer a question or share a thought. And I know we're out of process. Usually when we get the key three talking, we're rolling up the carpet and going home. But a deference to two of my teammates who are doing great work, I'd like to give Jeff a chance to say something.
Yeah, I heard several of the questions talked about, this seems to be coming out of nowhere and a rushed process. But it's not something that started last week or last month. But conversations have been going on since the beginning of the year. Yeah. In exploring, where we are and where we need to go. So it hasn't really been a rush process. We've been sort of sneaking up on it for a long time.
Thank you, Jeff. And Alan, did you have anything you wanted to share? Again, you didn't get a chance to address any particular question.
Sure. Thank you, Patrick. I just want to further elaborate on the several questions about how are we going to provide better service from a council-centric position rather than district-centric. And I just want to make an analogy to merit badge counselors. Right now, merit badge counselors can decide to work with a single troop or a couple of troops, or they can be generally available to the council. When you look at our current district structure, generally the thought process is, we get focused. I'm only going to work on Mount Monadnock district issues. I'm only going to work on One Lancer, whatever the district is. And so even if there's a unit in a neighboring town, that's outside of our scope of service, generally. If we move all of these support functions up to the council, every unit in the council is going to be treated the same way. There are no boundaries. And so we're going to be able to take all of the folks who are willing and able to share their time and their talents and be able to do that council-wide. And I think it will provide much better service to the units, with the goal of making everybody more successful, recruiting more scouts, having the scouts have more fun, and additionally, making it easier for the adults to be leaders and them to have more fun.
Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
That was well said. That was well said. I appreciate Jeff's comments too. This stuff is not, and even before beginning of the year, Jeff, this has been going on for about 15 years, understanding the trajectory of our council. So this is not the first time this conversation has been brought up, but it's the time we're acting upon it. And that's really where we are now. So the question comes up is, what's next, right? So we've talked a lot about our website, nhscouting.org/service delivery, with the FAQs, with the information about the project, but also with that feedback form. Make sure you use that. We don't want to be collecting data from, we don't want to be driving through Facebook and getting all stuff out of there. That's just a slog to get that. We don't want direct communications to us. We don't want the sidebar conversations. We want to have one central repository so nobody plays gatekeeper on information, whether it be inadvertently or other. Put the stuff into our feedback form, and we have this great big note field. Put anything you need to in there so we get that, and share that form with everybody in your network so that they have access to it. We will get that information. As I said earlier, it auto feeds into our Slack channel, and it auto feeds into a tracking document that we have, and we will task one of the task force members to respond to it. We will task or answer it directly through a subcommittee. But that will be our way of responding and keeping track of all the issues. And if we start seeing the same issue pop up 10 times, if we wait till 10 times, we're wrong. But if we start seeing a sequence of the same issue, we need to act on it. So having that one repository is going to be helpful in us in maintaining our velocity as we go through this project. So use that form. Keep an eye out for additional email blasts, surveys. We have a couple surveys getting staged to be sent out, and the town hall listening sessions. And I said the next one's coming up on September 17th. At this point, I want to say thank you to the task force. We've been working really hard. We were working once a month, and for the past 2 months, we've been doing bi-weekly meetings and putting a lot of work in. If you looked at our Slack channel, it's been pretty crazy how much is going in there. I know there's a lot of work going on outside that Slack channel, and I do appreciate Rick, Alan, Tom, Jay, Brian, Craig, Jeff. Who am I missing? Derek. Did I hit everybody? I think I hit everybody. I really appreciate the hard work you guys have put in and dedication you have to this task. It's a great team to work with. So with that, just know that we're excited about this and not a little, scared's the wrong word. We're pushing this with a little trepidation because of the heavy lift that we're looking to do. So we're running right into this knowing what we're trying to accomplish. And I know we can accomplish it with your help. So please get on that feedback form and volunteer for one of the subcommittees, and let's get this thing done. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I really do appreciate it. A video of this will be posted to our website here shortly so that the folks who could not make this meeting will be able to hear us and hear your questions and our responses, and hopefully get excited about what we're trying to accomplish. Thank you again, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you, everyone.